1868, C.H. Spurgeon in his preaching on Lord's Day. If we were wise, dear friends, we should find 1,000 things in the world to remind us of our blessed Lord. It is well to form the habit of connecting things that are seen with Him whom having not seen we love. If we do so, there will not be an hour in the day when we shall not be helped to think of Him, and scarcely anything that we see in our trade, or in the street, or in the field, or in our house, which will not be the means of reminding us of Him. When we rise in the morning, it would not be well to think of how He rose a great while before day that He might have time for private prayer. He had a hard day's work before Him, and therefore He needed strength with which to do it, and He gained it, not by a longer sleep, but by stealing time from sleep in which to draw near the strengthening Father in prayer, even when the morning is ended and we come to the middle of the day. If we are hot and weary, and the sun scorches us, we shall do well think of our text. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with His journey, sat thus on the well. The stars speak of Him to those who have but ears to hear. The morning sun reveals Him, and even the setting of the sun is not without instruction concerning Him. As God is everywhere, so are the footprints of the only begotten. He has so taken up materialism into connection with His spiritual and divine nature that He has left His impression upon all materialism. And in His temple of creation, everything speaks of His glory. He was perfectly and supremely God. His Godhead did not take away from Him His power to suffer and to be wearied. He sat down on the well. He was bent upon no less a mission than the salvation of a countless number who shall be His in the day of His appearing. His mind and heart were always at work. That busy brain of His was never still. He was tired and sat at the well. He could have done anything to make his thirst and weariness to go away, because He had divine and human nature in one person. The water would have been glad to leap out of the well to refresh the lips of Him who had created it. That well had been honored by suddenly pouring forth all its liquid refreshment that He might drink and be satisfied. But Jesus never wrought a miracle merely for His own comfort. He felt that His miraculous power was to be used for others and in His great work. But as for Himself, His humanity must bear its own infirmity, it must support its own trials. So He keeps His hand back from revealing His own necessities. He was a true man and subject to the common infirmities of the human nature. Toil came in with sin, and therefore Christ, having made Himself a curse for us, submitted to it, that He was a poor man, else He might have travelled on horseback or in a chariot. To this instance of meanness and mortification, He humbled Himself for us, that He went all His journeys on foot. When servants were on horses, Prince walked as servant on the earth. When we are carried easily, let us think on the weariness of our Master. It should seem that He was but a tender man, and not of a robust constitution. It should seem His disciples were not tired, for they went into the town without any difficulty, when their Master sat down and could not go a step further. Bodies of the finest mould are most sensible of fatigue, and can worst bear it. He sat on the well, an uneasy place, cold and hard. He had no couch, no easy chair to repose himself in, but took to that which was next hand, to teach us not to be nice and curious in the conveniences of this life, but content with mean things. He sat thus, in an uneasy posture, sat carelessly, or he sat so as people that are wearied with travelling are accustomed to sit. Some of us know all about this weariness, for we have many times felt as we could not even breathe or lift a finger, remember then that. Jesus, being wearied with His journey, sat thus on the well. He knows it, not only by having heard of it and seen it, but by having felt it. Go to Him without any fear, with a childlike confidence, that He who has been tried in all points as we are, and who was Himself compassed with infirmity, is able also to succor us in all times of weariness, and be assured that if we come to Him, He will give us rest. His disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat. Hence, learn a lesson. First, of justice and honesty. The meat Christ ate, He bought and paid for, as Paul 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 verse 8. Secondly, of daily dependence upon providence. Take no thought for the morrow. Christ did not go into the city to eat, but sent His disciples to fetch His meat thither, not because He curbed eating in a Samaritan city, but because He had a good work to do at that well, which might be done while they were catering. It is wisdom to fill up our vacant minutes with that which is good, that the fragments of time may not be lost. Peter, while his dinner was getting ready, fell into trance. Acts chapter 10 verse 10. Because it was more private and retired, more cheap and homely, to have his dinner brought him hither, than to go into the town for it. Perhaps his purse was low, and he would teach us good husbandry, to spend according to what we have and not to go beyond it. At least he would teach us not to affect great things. Christ could eat his dinner as well upon a draw well as in the best in the town. Let us comport with our circumstances. Now this gave Christ an opportunity of discoursing with these women about spiritual concerns, and he improved it. He often preached to multitudes that crowded after him for instruction. Yet here he condescends to teach a single person, a woman, a poor woman, a stranger, a Samaritan, to teach his ministers to do likewise, as those that know what a glorious achievement it is to help to save, though but one soul, from death. Observe here the splendid situation happening. Even though there were many scholars, priests, philosophers, and smart people in Samaria during that time, Jesus chose to speak with a woman who was considered an outcast of society. She is unqualified to speak about Christ to the Samaritans, but yet God chose her and gave her a great privilege to share about Christ. She was poor. Women of certain status and wealth never went to draw water from themselves. They had servant girls for that kind of thing. Next, the Samaritan woman went to draw water from the well at noon. This was a strange time of day, and she was all by herself. This fact suggests that she did not have any woman friends. Finally, this was not the closest well to where she lived. Why would she walk to a further distance at the hottest time of day? This is evidenced by the fact that she came alone to draw water from the community well, when during biblical times drawing water and chatting at the well was the social high point of a woman's day. However, this woman was ostracized and marked as immoral, an unmarried woman living openly with the sixth in a series of men. The story of the woman at the well teaches us that God loves us in spite of our bankrupt lives. God values us even to actively seek us, to welcome us to intimacy, and to rejoice in our worship. As a result of Jesus' conversation, only a person like the Samaritan woman, an outcast from her own people, could understand what this means. To be wanted, to be cared for when no one, not even herself, could see anything of value in her. This is grace indeed. God knows our story, and He isn't scared of by our past. He knows our pain, our fears, and our anxiety, because He has been there even though we couldn't see Him. Also, this story reminds us that God is ready and willing to set us free. Free from the choices that have left us broken and lost. Free from our past. Free from the pain we have been dragging around with us, and redeem us into a new creation. Set free and with a purpose. Jesus talked to the woman at the well for a reason. He had made this trek for her, so He needed her to know who He was. That He wasn't some stalker or scam artist that had found out about her, but truly the God who sees, the God who knew her inmost heart, the broken places no one else had ever seen. That he saw the present and the past. He knew her history, every tear, every bad decision, every misuse, and chose her anyway, because he had been with her every step of the way, even though she didn't know it. And Jesus begins with a modest request for a draught of water. Give me to drink. He that for our sakes became poor. Here, he begins a conversation saying, give me to drink.